All right, so it's April, and I finally finished my first book this year. I have been reading like several different books on and off throughout the year, but I've never finished any until now. And this one ended up being really impactful to me because I feel like it shows this character so much better than we've seen them portrayed in a lot of other media. And that book is Winter Soldier Cold Front by Lee Mackenzie, I believe it is. Or Mackenzie Lee. So this book has been my first read of the year. My mom got it for me as a birthday gift because it's not in any of my Barnes and Nobles. I have hunted for this book at my local Barnes and Nobles and I have not found it. So it was a struggle. It drove me insane, and I slowly lost my mind trying to find this book. The Loki book, that is also by Mackenzie Lee, is next on my list, but that's actually in my library, and I have that borrowed as an ebook right now. Probably not going to finish it right away, but I can borrow it again. So, my thing with this book, what I love about this is, like I said, it really showcases Bucky in a new light. And I've known for a while because so my family grew up reading comics. I was reading comics when I was very young. My uncle always talked about comics with me. So when the MCU happened, my uncle was ecstatic, and it was our tradition until his stroke to go to the movies every time a new Marvel release came out and go and see them together. And then go either home or get dinner or get food afterwards and discuss the movie and its relation to the comics and what we think's going to happen next. That's the family I grew up in. Marvel and DC are such huge parts of my family. And I know the MCU has taken a lot of different swings with the characters. And I've always loved Bucky. I especially love Sebastian Stan, though I fell hard for Sebastian as the Mad Hatter in Once Upon a Time. There's a lore drop for you guys. But I think that Bucky's character in the MCU hinges too much on his relationship to Steve Rogers. And in the comics, I know it's different, and that's why it always frustrated me. I have loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I loved Thunderbolts. I loved the new content we're getting for Bucky in the MCU. But this book, this showed me why I love comic Bucky more. Because this is still similar to the Bucky Barnes we see in the MCU, but you feel the differences in the character, and this builds him as an actual that's me. And this builds him as an actual character with depth and story behind him. Honestly, one of my major thoughts after reading this book is you could fix the MCU Bucky if you gave him this backstory and kept one single scene from the first Avenger movie, Captain America the First Avenger. If you keep the scene where he's a POW and he gets at least a little bit of the serum in him, it would still fit with the rest of the MCU. I feel like if you give him this backstory and that scene, it would fit perfectly and make Bucky a much more dynamic character than they've allowed him to be. As it stands, Bucky aside, I will say Mackenzie Lee is an amazing author. She has a very good tone to her writing. I really like how she sets very subtly. She's very good at setting up dominoes to fall down later. Things that I didn't even register from the very first part of the book came back later, and I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense now. Like little things. She's good at putting very little things in your head and then bringing it back later for a very good payoff. My leg is very numb right now. Oh my god, hold on. So she's very good at that, and just her dialogue is also very good. I like the banter between Bucky and Imogen in this book very much. Their banter is amazing, and it's everything I picture from Bucky. Like when we finally got to see more of Bucky's character, it wasn't until Civil War, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Other than that, I mean, I've looked at the screen time records for Sebastian Stan, and I feel like he was completely gypped. He was promised so much more for this character that they didn't give him. That's a story for another day. We're not here for a total Marvel rant, only a little one. We're mostly talking about the book. No. So yes, her tone, her dominoes that she sets up, and her pacing is really good as well. There are a couple moments, and I'm gonna do some more looking into my books for this. There are a couple moments where she does just kind of jump from one place to another. And in most books, I don't think it would work, but because Bucky is, drugged up, he's not supposed to be remembering things, he's got his memory wiped so many times, it makes more sense for this book for the jumping and the moving very quickly from scene to scene. I don't think and that's why I'm curious to read her Loki book to see if she does another similar thing in that, or if it's just in this because of Bucky's character and because of his backstory. It also really showcases something in the comics that I love that is very much portrayed, is that he's always fighting to come back to himself. And this book portrays that very, very well. It's honestly it's such a heartbreaking ending. The book has a very, very heartbreaking ending. And despite how heartbreaking it is, it really does showcase Bucky's character beautifully. I do not know what other authors have written for Marvel in a book fashion and not a comic fashion. I don't know if there's another author who has tackled the Winter Soldier concept, but she does a very good job of really showing you Bucky's character and the struggle that he is having and everything. She's so good at what she does in this book. I really do like her writing. I want to read more of her books that she has done for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not cinematic, but the Marvel Universe. I always want to default to the MCU. I always want to default to that. I'm just overall really pleased with this book. I think for the first read of the year, it is my favorite so far of what I've read, though I am also currently reading MASH as well. MASH is by far one of my favorite, it is my favorite TV show of all time. I rewatch it all the time for comfort, and I'm currently in the process of finishing that as well. I've been reading this and MASH simultaneously, so MASH will probably be my next J Reads video that you guys see. But I really, really recommend Winter Soldier Cold Front to anyone, especially MCU fans who like Bucky, who don't really know much about comic Bucky. She does a very good job of laying out the foundations of what makes Bucky Barnes himself, what makes James Buchanan Barnes tick. That is this book. If you want a character study on James Barnes, this is the book for it. I think that this does such a beautiful job of portraying him and his character. So yes, this is first book of the year, and it's a Bucky book. Y'all do not know how much Bucky content there has been recently. There's definitely a through thread with myself and Bucky personally. It's showing up a lot now as I do. I've been doing shadow work recently. I talked about that in a recent video up here, but I've been doing a lot of shadow work, and Bucky's one of the characters that is really come to me to the forefront of my mind as I've been working on a lot of my own shadow work and stuff. So this book was very important to me, and I'm very happy that I read it. Because again, like I said at the top, the MCU very much hinges Bucky on Steve. And so when they took Steve, they left a gap there. They definitely fixed it with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I definitely feel like that was a good step, but it still doesn't feel like they're giving him enough. It really doesn't. And I understand Sebastian Stan's frustration with the role and Marvel itself, and I'm very interested to see how Sebastian does in DC, because I also love the DC comics. Like I said, I'm a comic book girly, so I'm very, very curious about that. But there's not much else to say about the book. There's nothing super in-depth that I can say. I just loved this, and I want to read more from this author. And again, if there are Marvel fans who love Bucky, this is a high praise recommendation from me. This is, like I said, the perfect go-to book for understanding Bucky Barnes. If you guys want to see more of me talking about books, probably a little bit more in-depth for future books. This one isn't quite as in-depth, but I wanted to at least make a video for it because I read the book and it deserves a video. Subscribe and follow me for any updates on books that I have been reading. Like I said, the next one that's probably going to come out is going to be about MASH. So I will hopefully finish that before April, but I can't make any guarantees on when this next video will come out. But every time I finish a book now, now, I'm going to make a Jay Reads for you guys and kind of talk about the book. Mostly spoiler free, but a little bit of spoilers, always giving that warning at the top. So thank you guys, though, for watching. I really do hope you enjoy this. And if you love Bucky Barnes as much as I do, go read this book. You're missing out if you haven't.